You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. And boy, do we have a good show planned for you today. Why do you ask? Because not only do we have one great Orange County entrepreneur, but we have two co-founders on the show. We have Katie Brundige and Meghan Clem of Intertwine. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So we got a lot to cover in this show. So let's get right into it. And I guess, Katie, I think Meghan, I'm going to ask you to go first. That's right. Talk to me about your origin story. What was the original motivation, inspiration that you had to launch the show, launch the program, excuse me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think ours is not your average, met at business school or, wanted to have this great product to put out there. We actually met in high school, volunteering for a program for people with disabilities. And Katie and I happened to be in the dorm rooms right across the hall from each other. And within the first night that we were there, I remember out of nowhere looking at her and being like, you and I are going to be friends. And she was like, who is this weirdo? Why is she what? I've got enough friends. I'm good. Little did she know, both of us, that would kind of be divine inspiration. We kept coming back summer after summer, serving in that capacity and volunteering. And then one day ended up kind of owning the directing of that program together because it was going to shut down. And so she and I got a full year working kind of side by side because we had offered to volunteer so the program would continue, and became absolute best friends, realized that, her lane is very different than my lane, but when you put them together, intertwined, if you will, we had this great, amazing end result, no matter what it was that we were working on together. And so we had both gone into the world of events, and I had some marketing background as well. And so Katie was busy planning kind of Fortune 500 incentive trips and fam trips. I was working for the city of Anaheim at the time, helping them put on about 18, 20 events a year, celebrating their 150th. And I remember distinctly being in a car riding with Katie back from some activity that we were doing. And she looked at me and she goes, why are we doing this for other people? Why don't we just do this for ourselves? Why don't we do this together? And I looked at her and I was like, you're so funny. What? No. Little did I know, I'd moved on to another job, and little did I know, I think, Katie, was it a month later after you had said that? Yeah. I got laid off. Mm-hmm. So it was, 2008, 2009, great time to be starting a company. If you remember how the economy was then. And I very much was like, I'm not going to be beholden to anybody else telling me where I can make my money, what my job and career is, what I'm doing. Meanwhile, Katie's this absolute huge idea person and was like, no, we need to start a business. So I Googled how to write a business plan. There was no AI or ChatGPT back then, right? And I had free time. So we wrote this business plan, and the concept was intertwining events that we loved with this new trend. I can't believe I'm saying that now, right? Dating myself, of using social media to market, right? Back then Facebook was still where you found out where your college friends were partying, and Twitter was an actual place for connection and community and talking and connecting with people across the country and using hashtags. And we thought, why don't we intertwine these ideas of events and social? Because you can have an experience in real life through the event, and then you can continue that experience online through social. And, we only had one way to go up in 2009 because everybody else was downsizing, scrapping, big recession was hitting. And so we were able to kind of grab stuff up, and we've literally just grown ever since. So long answer to a short question of how'd you start? But we started by being friends. We started by finding this one thing that really connected us and we were passionate about, which was service to the disability community. And then we're lucky enough to have this sort of really complementary set of skill sets, but the same foundations. And we've built Intertwined from there.
I think it's great to hear the origin story of two entrepreneurs who started a business in the face of what is now referred to as the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm. Only one way to go.
Right.
Can't get any worse.
And I'm sure in the early days, there may have been some dark days. I don't know, but maybe the business model. So Katie, I wonder if you could maybe take us back in time. And did you have any pivots? What did you learn once you launched the business? Did you have any big or small pivots to the business model?
Yeah, we learned a lot. I mean, talking about coming in from the recession, we were scrappy. Like we were on our apartment floors. We did not have a team or an office. We would answer the phone for one another, and I would answer as Megan's assistant and put someone on hold and then pass it to Megan. Like whatever it was to make us look legit.
Oh my God. I forgot we did that.
Yeah, we actually have
That's
real
how you make
assistants
it.
now that are real people. But yeah, so we started small and built up from there. We had thought we were going after corporate events. That's where we had the most knowledge and expertise. And we were like, we're going to target this market. Well, 2008 happened and nobody was doing a corporate event. Everything was cut as far as the travel and hospitality business goes. But the skill set transferred over to weddings and people were still getting married. And so although we didn't mean to go into the wedding industry, we ended up in the wedding industry, and thank God for that, because it kept us alive and got us rolling when corporate events were completely non-existent. But it opened up a new area for revenue that we didn't originally plan on, which is one of the things that we've taken on now year after year. Now we've gone through a few recessions and experiences, and we're very grateful that we have multi lines of business that we can pull from when one is hurting or not excelling in that way.
Absolutely.
I launched my business in 2007, and I believed that the subprime was going to be contained and it wouldn't affect the housing market. And so I thought this is the perfect time. So I drank the Kool-Aid only to realize it was going to be worse than it was. So I think great companies can be born out of the lessons that we learned during those difficult early days, right?
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about the company as it is today. And Katie, if you would be so kind, who are you helping? What problems are you solving? And then help me to understand, of all the variety of clients that you work with, who really knows how to get the leverage and the ROI out of it?
Yeah. I mean, we say all the time, because we have our nonprofit, which is Rad Camp, and then we have our business, which is Intertwine Inc. And we say Rad Camp pays our hearts and Intertwine pays our bills, but they are intertwined on a day-to-day basis. So we are constantly serving the disability community through our nonprofit, which then touches our clients. So most of our clients have heard about us from either the camps or from other colleagues who like that we put passion and purpose together. And so that really has fueled the growth of our company throughout the years. So we serve right now the luxury market in Orange County. That's our prime clientele as far as the wedding and social event side goes. And then we serve corporations, primarily in Orange County, but really all over Southern California and beyond. But a lot of those corporations are these good corporate companies and people who are looking to excel in what they do, but also be good corporations and people. And so they're looking to give back, and they're looking to bring in people that are a good part of the community. So we've really found that it's fascinating how we're so focused on the disability community and empowering them and including them in everything that we do. And that has helped us figure out who we serve as far as our actual clients.
Megan, I guess I'd like to maybe go a little deeper. Was it strategic decision you both made to go after the luxury market, or how did you find that niche to be the niche where you are best served?
Absolutely. I think underlying what we do best, like if we had to define, some people go, well, what's a hospitality collection? Or how is it that you have a division that does events? You have a division that does social media marketing. You have a division that does, room block management, things like that. And you have a nonprofit. Like, what's going on here? But at the end of the day, what we love is to create experiences and to connect people to each other in those experiences, if we're talking about wedding and social, and or to connect them to a brand if we're talking about corporate and social media. And whether that experience is something like this where you get to connect online, or you get to be in person, which after everything with the pandemic was so vital to everybody to get them back in the room with each other and really connecting. And so that is ultimately how we really stepped into luxury, how we would define luxury. It isn't necessarily what the price tag is of that item you bought, right? It doesn't necessarily mean designer or the, most high-end 5-star resort. Luxury, in our opinion, is really truly its convenience. It's bespoke. It is that customization of what is going on to make it so uniquely yours. That's really what luxury is. And it's having the ability to have amazing choices that maybe not everybody has access to, right? It isn't just a quick Google search and you found, the top DJs that show up in SEO, right? It is that custom experience where we found that DJ that also plays an electric violin and can do a great live, music opportunities, right? So it's understanding what people are really looking for, what they're passionate about, and then bringing that experience to them.
Interesting. So Katie, how has that luxury hospitality space evolved over the years? Because you've been 16 going on 17 years now.
Yes.
You've been in the
Don't
marketplace.
date us, but yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How's it evolved?
It's evolved. It's totally different market than it was when we first started. I would say we find it kind of fascinating that the housing market and the wedding market kind of is similar. Like we'll know if we're going to have a good wedding year if the housing market had a good year, which I know sounds so crazy, but it's been true for us since the beginning. And what was once luxury was like $150,000 wedding budget. Now that's nothing near luxury. Now we're looking at a $400,000 budget, and that's what we're like commonly dealing with here. So
you just sticker shocked everyone watching right now.
Yes. Yeah. If you have a daughter or son getting married soon, start saving. Yeah, it's going to be pricey, but it's also how we serve these people. It's not just like Meghan said, like pairing them up with the right people. They're coming to us looking to be taken care of, to be valued, to give them things that not everyone has. With Instagram and Pinterest and all the social media channels these days, these weddings and events become shows of some sort. Like they want to be able to show their friends and family what they had, and that it's different than what their other friends and family had. So we're constantly trying to think outside the box. We're constantly doing something that hasn't been done before because they don't want that. They don't want what they've seen before. They want something brand new. So it is a lot of creative thinking and a lot of high touch, detailed service.
I would even, Katie, if I can add, I would even use the word production, right? It's the production value of everything has just hit an all-time high. I think because people have a lot of, to Katie's point, creative tools at their disposal now much more easily, right? Everything that we've seen launch with Canva recently. And then to Katie's point, the things that you have access to online that you can look at and ideate around, but how do then create an immersive experience that feels magical when you're in it, right? That feels like you've transformed a space and you've taken them from one place to another, and allowed them to just really immerse themselves in that. The production side of it really has, whether that's audio visual, whether that's the incredible designs that we're bringing in and custom furniture and build outs and signage and branding. It really is and it's usually a multi-day event now too, right? It's not just enough to come in for a 4 or 5 hour. We're seeing weddings go over multiple days so that people can really enjoy the experience and it isn't gone like this. We're seeing the same for company retreats, for incentive trips, things like that, where they really want to give them a break from the day-to-day and have them connect in almost a retreat-like experience.
Yeah, two thoughts as you both were explaining the luxury hospitality space. One is how much of an memorable experience is at the center of the luxury hospitality industry. And then two, how challenging it must be for you to continue to outdo your most creative idea the last time, because now that's the table stakes from which they want to go to the next level. So congratulations for being able to keep regenerating your creativity and giving up new and different experiences.
Only as good as your last event, right?
No, 16 years are only as good as the last event. Yeah,
It's true.
I've seen some videos of various events that in doing my prep work, and they are amazing, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't had a chance to see them, just watching and seeing the attention to detail that you put into your events, it's truly inspiring.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go in a little different direction. Meghan, maybe you can help to share a piece of business advice that you have picked up, you both have picked up, that you have found helpful as you've grown and scaled your company.
I love this question because if you don't mind, I'd love to answer it in both directions. We definitely have gotten some amazing advice, and I can share that. But I think on the flip side, we've also gotten some not so amazing advice that I think we kind of had to trudge through to figure out, and in getting out of that advice really found our path. So the first piece of advice, very dear colleague of ours in the hospitality space, in the culinary and catering space. And I will give him the full shout out. John Brown, I still have you in my brain. I know Katie does as well. He mentored us very early on. I think he saw our potential maybe before we did. But he said something that has been to our core and really is the philosophy and value system that we have here at Intertwine. But it is hire before you need it, and hire for the person, not the position. If you hire, and now we've adopted that to be like, we hire for intertwined first, right? You need to be intertwined. And then we can train and teach all the other stuff, right? And so the position usually builds itself. It finds itself. The work will always get there if you have the right people around you. And we're a service-based company at the end of the day. And so truly our people are the service that we provide. And so we're only, as good as our last event, no, but as good as the team that we have, absolutely. And so really honing in on that. We've always hired somebody, even if we didn't know that we could make, do we have the salary? Do we have the position? Do we have the work? It was like, we can't not have this person on our team. I can't not have this person, there every day, trudging it out with us and doing amazing stuff with us. The work has always found its way to that person or that position. On the flip side of what I was talking about, as far as like terrible advice, and you don't know what you don't know when you're starting out, and you're just kind of grinding and one step at a time and one day at a time, and you gotta make some mistakes. But we got some terrible advice early on that said, they used the word at the time slasher. You cannot be this/this/this. You are going to confuse people. They're not going to know what to come for you to. It's going to be hard to market and sell. You can only be one thing. So, you can only be weddings. That is all you can do is intertwined weddings, right? And so for a while, for the first 5 or 6 years, we really had our company, even though the name was Intertwined, for goodness sake, kills me to this day. We had it like Intertwined Events was almost its own siloed, even though it was a division, it was a company, right? And then we had Intertwined, Become Intertwined, our social media marketing arm. And then, everything was just in these silos. And then Rad Camp. Oh my gosh, we couldn't tell people about Rad Camp because we never wanted them to think that we were, fundraising or soliciting or anything like that for what we were doing. And then one day we just were like, what is happening? And we heard an amazing term, again, giving credit, and Marie Forleo, I'm a big fan. She does kind of online business coaching and things like that, particularly for creatives and females. But she said something, and she got rid of the word slasher for us. And we heard her use the word multi-passionate. And I went, oh my God, Katie, this is like, Katie and I were just like light bulb on. This is us, right? We are multi-passionate about these things that we do. I can't imagine coming into work and not planning an event, but also thinking about a social media client and a campaign that we're running and things like that. Katie, I think if she only did one type of event every day, her creativity would be stifled. And so what we realized is, let's get back to being intertwined. Let's get back to this idea of, you can come to us for events. Those events probably need social media. We've got that for you too. If people are traveling in, you probably need room box. That's our reserve line. And then, hey, if by the way, you want to give back and do something good, we can connect all of this, to an amazing nonprofit, especially for our corporate clients, right? They're always looking for, social responsibility and how can we give back with our platform and our people. And all of a sudden, the right client started coming to us, right? The client that understood the intersection of passion, purpose, and profit, right? And this ability to say, hey, you're doing incredible stuff for great people who deserve it, meaning Rad Camp. We would rather, if we're going to give our money somewhere, let's align with that so that we can make sure that, this thing that we're purchasing or doing or putting on can also have an impact. And we just started to find our people, right? And I think there's enough clients for everybody out there. I really do. But finding the right ones for you means showing who you are, right? People want to work with who they know, like, and trust. And ultimately, we found those people that we know, like, and trust back. And so that, I know that's a very long answer again, but, best advice or worst advice turned best is when we stopped listening to it and did about the exact opposite.
It was well worth the verbal journey because that's such a powerful story. Having worked with entrepreneurs for as long as I have, I've come to appreciate how important the real estate between your two ears are, and how you see the world and how you frame things. It's really can be an accelerator or a limiter on your success. And you gave us an example of both. And I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That was great. Katie, is there anything you want to add to that conversation before we move on? No, kind of putting you on the spot. It's okay if you say no. Meghan did such a
I would just
job.
echo all of it. I think to us, it's been like a complete game changer when we did start putting all of our pieces together. And our favorite clients right now are those that are working with us on events. We also manage their social media. They're giving back to us at RAD, and they're all just good people. And that part, I mean, why wouldn't you work your tail off for good people? Right. So it's been very fascinating seeing how that has all aligned and has helped us grow our business exponentially the last few years.
Yep.
So we're going to go in a little different direction, and I'm really curious to learn from both of you how you see artificial intelligence, how it's impacting your industry, and then because you have such a robust social media arm and ability, how do you see it impacting what is traditionally been thought of as social media in the marketplace? So maybe Katie, we can start with you.
Yeah. I think Megs and I will have totally different perspectives on it because she manages more of the social media side and I manage more of the event side. So social media is totally different ballgame with AI. Specifically on the wedding side, the industry is late to the party on most things. Like we are not going to be pushing the limit typically. So AI is just starting to come into the wedding world as far as I'm seeing. But it is changing things because now we can go on Canva and we can type in like wood table with white napkin and all of a sudden it's there and we're looking at it and we can add what we need. And so now we don't have to have these crazy skill sets or designers because we're able to work so quickly in it. But at the same time, what we do is bring so much customized service to it that AI cannot do. Like AI is not going to be able to get into our brides' heads and hearts and know what they want. So it's a tool that we are using to do better for our job and better for our clients. But it's almost making me think even more it's not going to replace us because we are getting we are personally invested in our couples and our companies and their success, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's look at it from a social media perspective.
Yeah.
Then,
well, I think in general, right, the fact that you can those two things, and we're talking about AI, like it is definitely not going anywhere, but more and more prevalent, right? And if it can touch literally any industry that you're working on. Our philosophy and our take and our approach as a company and as a team on either side of it is, yes, AI all day long, if it can improve our efficiencies, if it can, more quickly allow us to do more volume of work, but it should not replace the human experience and the human touch that is required. So meaning on the social media side, we love to use it to do research, to do listening, to know certain trends and topics that are happening, to, fix layouts and templates and optimize certain things that we're doing. But we don't love it for the direct communication to your community and your audience for community management, right? I don't actually want to replace that with bots or with AI. That is what had made social media so unique is you could cut out the middleman, right? You were either cutting out the journalist or you were cutting out the company HR spokesperson, PR spokesperson, you were getting straight to the source, right? And straight to your customer, your client. And I think that has to remain because people don't get me wrong, AI is pretty good and pretty tricky in some of these posts and some of these things you're seeing, right? These avatars. But you're pretty good at knowing when you're talking to a computer versus when you're talking to a person that can really have a conversation with you. And that shouldn't the copywriting kills me. Stop using AI to write your copy. It's not going to be your tone. It's not going to be your voice. It's not going to be I love these put these 5 prompts into AI and it's going to write your whole media calendar for you for the month. Great. It's also writing the other 2,500 people that just did that too. And we're losing, I think, again, in luxury and what we're talking about, which is that custom, unique experience, that point of view. And so I think it shouldn't replace that. So I think that's kind of where we're looking. But there's and the other thing I'll say is use it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't hate it. All the things, right? I think there's like, it can kind of be polarizing, but there's no excuse to not go know or find out what you need to know and find out to be the best at what you are doing, right? Like it is out there and it can get to your fingertips quickly and it can get organized for you and, do your homework, but there's no reason, we used to say, we'd have interns come in and ask questions. And I said, did you research it? Did you Google it? Did you try to figure it out? It's there for you, right? So you can accelerate what you know. You can accelerate how you do what you do. You can find best practices out there and then put your unique touch on it. But there's no reason to not be utilizing it to accelerate.
Fantastic. I told you at the top of the show we had a good one planned for you, ladies and gentlemen. I got a few more questions if we have time. Okay.
Absolutely, you bet.
I'm curious because your firm you're experts at storytelling. I think we can tell that from the quality of the answers that also come out in this show today. But at a deeper level, I'm wondering, Katie, maybe from your perspective, how is storytelling intertwined with the brands that you work with, and how do you deliver a compelling, convincing, and has integrity story for the brands that you work for?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think everything we do is storytelling. If we're talking about Rad Camp, we're constantly telling the story because we need fundraising and dollars, and we want people to know how amazing this community is. So we're constantly shouting their worth. For our corporate clients, we're always telling their story through their branding, through the experience that people are going through their events, what they're seeing, how they're feeling. A wedding is a giant, it's a new chapter in someone's life. So talk about a storytelling experience. And we have got to know our couples to the core. Like we have to know everything that they love and everything that they hate and what they want their friends and family to feel that day so that we can start this next chapter in their lives on a high note. For social media, we are telling their story every single day. So yes, at the end of the day, we are event planners, we are social media managers, we are directors of awesome for Rad Camp, but everything in our life is a giant story, a giant story book.
Yeah. And again, going kind of full circle to like best advice you've ever gotten. One of the things we heard early on, and again, in the brain and on repeat, facts tell, stories sell. And so a fact you're not going to necessarily remember, right? I could tell you that 92% of our caregivers at Rad Camp, Rad is the only consecutive days of respite they get, right? But until I tell you that Katie is actually an incredible Rad mom who has adopted 2 amazing children with special needs and works her butt off every day, and we need to give her just a little bit of a break, a time off to reset and be able to serve them every single day, all of a sudden you're paying attention. You're like, wait, tell me more about this mom. You can envision the mom. You can see the children. You understand what a day-to-day struggle could look like and why, we need that service so badly. 92% of all caregivers need respite. Does that stick? Maybe not so much, right? No. And so that's just one example of sharing. And sorry, Katie, I know I got very personal for you there, and we love your boys very, very much. But those are that. But when you are thinking about sharing your own brand or your own company or your client's story, right? It is really, truly, what is that narrative? What is that hook? What is that thing that somebody can resonate and connect with and feel like they're a part of your journey with you?
I'm picking up a lot of lessons here today from you both. The importance of the experience and I think what I heard also in that answer was how do people feel and what's the emotion that is what's resonant and they remember and is convincing to them. So I do want to ask you about the future of Intertwined, but before we get there, you've mentioned Rad Camp several times, but I'm not really clear. Can you go a little deeper on what is Rad Camp?
Absolutely. Katie, do you want to?
Yeah, so Rad Camp is a separate entity from Intertwine. It is our nonprofit. It stands for Rising Above Disabilities, and it's a summer camp program for kids and adults with disabilities. So we pair them one-on-one with a volunteer. Most of the volunteers are high school or college students that we've recruited here in Southern California. Some come from out of state. And we give them a full camp experience where the campers are treated like the VIP celebrities that they are to us. The caregivers get much deserved respite, and these volunteers get a life-changing experience where they get to learn what someone's life is like with a disability. We always talk about in high school seniors, for example, who have grown up in Orange County and have experienced a really good life, to then have to selflessly give back to someone with a disability for a week. That is a life-changing, game-changing opportunity for them. And that is the core of what we do. We want our campers to shine. We want these volunteers to understand how important the disability community is and how special and awesome they are. And to give these caregivers a nap or a break of any kind during that time that we have their loved one at camp.
So I may be mistaken, but if we go way, way back to your high school days, were you running some type of a similar camp in the summer?
We were volunteering at another organization, yes, and that is how we found out that our passions were very much aligned. And after we had volunteered with them for a number of years, we realized that we could grow and do some pretty rad things if we broke out on our own. So after we started Intertwined, we then started Rad Camp.
Fantastic. I love it when entrepreneurs, you're problem solvers, and you just see another opportunity to solve a problem or create an opportunity for others, which I love. Okay, now let's talk about the future. And Katie, maybe you can kick it off for us. What's the future? What do you, as co-founders of this company, what's the next chapter? Where are you taking it?
We're just going up from here, Rick. We're just going up.
Hold on tight.
Yes. I mean, again, at the core of everything we do, Rad Camp is where our hearts are. So we are very hopeful that we can continue to grow Rad, expand, give this opportunity to more people. I hope one day there is a Rad in every state, is what I like to say. So we are not thinking small. We are definitely thinking big. And to intertwine our two passions, we are really trying to incorporate and be more inclusive of the disability community in our lives, both at Rad Camp and at Intertwine. So we have partnered recently with Goodwill to employ a person with a disability here at our office. She is by far employee of the year, like hands down.
Sorry, team. You all know it too.
Yeah, we'll tell all of our team. Yeah. She's the best. But we are setting an example for others in the hospitality community. There's others that have joined us already and are on board and going through the hiring process with Goodwill now. And we just hope that we can continue to set an example for the hospitality and for the disability community and everything that we do.
I love that program that Goodwill has. We featured it here on other episodes of the show, and I think it's amazing. Every entrepreneur that I know that have partnered with Goodwill only speaks highly of the people that they're working with, how they appreciate the job, they come prepared. It's the kind of employee you dream to have.
Yeah, she is an absolute irreplaceable asset to this team in just a short amount of time, and could not recommend that more to other employers. Like, it really is something where I think that's the future for all of us, right? It isn't, operating out of fear or scarcity or only with a vision to profit. I think it really is the future of building businesses and providing services is inclusive. It is representative, and it is a safe and nurturing environment for people to grow, right? Like, that's ultimately, if you invest in them, they're going to invest right back in you. And I think that when you say I almost don't want to put the mark out there of like, this is the future of Intertwine, because I'll tell you that first business plan said in bold letters, will not do weddings. And, it's one of our highest profiting divisions, right? So, it's one of those things where what I want to say is I'm going to trust the incredible people here. I'm going to trust the fact that Katie hates to her core a status quo and will push and challenge and risk take until we have to do it all over again. And I am going to hold on tight for the ride. I'm going to make sure we got some process and procedure in place, because that's my jam. But honestly, I think that's the future, is saying we are limitless. we are going to tell and shout the worth of everybody around us that they too are unlimited in their capacity and their capabilities. And let's see where that takes us, right? And let's see how far we can go on the fact that we trust and believe in our people.
It has been an honor to have not just one, but both the co-founders on the program here today. So Meghan and Katie, I knew this was going to be a stellar time together. I'm so appreciative that you both were willing to be a guest here on Critical Mass. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for what you do.
If someone would like to learn more about Intertwined, how do they do that?
Oh, absolutely. They can go ahead and head over to our website, intertwinedinc.com. You can get to all of our different services and brand divisions there. You can join us on social media, shameless plug, I know, and definitely give RadCamp OC a follow. We would love to have you there. I promise it will be the happiness your day needs each day. But please reach out, say hello, even if it's just to send over an email and see how our day is going or pick our brains further. We would love to connect with you.
I hope people do that. I think they should. This has been great. And thank you to the audience. You're a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show and podcast here. And this episode will join our catalog of over 1,500 interviews that we've done over the years. If you happen to be an Orange County entrepreneur or a nonprofit leader, in this case, I had both here on the show, reach out to me. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. Let me know of your interest in being a guest. Between Haley, our long-term producer, myself, we can help to get you ready to be a guest on the show. If we're already connected, then send me a message or reach out to me on email or call me. Be happy to have you as a guest on the program. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I hope each of your business decisions will move your organizations in a positive direction.